Good afternoon. This is Commissioner Slater Harrington. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Good afternoon. This is Committee Chair Kalila Slater Harrington. I would like to welcome you all to the December 3rd meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee. If you have not done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself before speaking for the record. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Commissioner Redding Lallinger. Okay, I think we'll give it just a few more minutes then to allow for time for the commissioners to arrive. Hey there, Dr. Jabrowski.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We're just going to give it just a few more minutes for the commissioners to arrive.
Sounds good.
In the spirit of transparency, I am doing multiple things. I'm currently outside of one of our schools, Baltimore School for the Arts, to pick up a sick kid. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
I hope, me too. But if the other commissioners' days are going anything like mine, then I understand.
Understood.
Welcome, Commissioner Redding Lallinger. We are going to give it one more minute. We were waiting on other commissioners to arrive.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
While we wait, I will share that today is International Day of Persons with Disabilities. This day was established by the United Nations to promote understanding of disability issues and mobilize support for the dignity, rights, and well-being of persons with disabilities. So just wanted to acknowledge that as we jump into our meeting today. With that, I'm going to go back and begin again so that we're all on the same page um, with the guardrails for the meeting today. This is Commissioner Slater Harrington. I would like to welcome you again to the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting for December 3rd, 2024. If you have not done so already, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your phone off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Okay. Commissioner Redding Lallinger.
Reading Lallinger present.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. All right. It looks like our team, Dr. Dabrowski is here. And without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and jump into our very important literacy and math updates today. I know we have a robust conversation planned, and so I do not want to put it off any longer. Dr. Dabrowski, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to actually ask my colleague, Jalima Alisea, to hop on, and I'll let her take it from here. Oops, you're on mute, Jalima.
Man.
There you go. Not a problem.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to be here this afternoon. My name is Jalima Alisea. I'm the Executive Director in the Office of Teaching and Learning. And we have two exciting presentations for the board today, literacy as well as our math updates. And so with that, I'm going to ask my colleagues to queue up the deck so that we can get started with our first presentation. And so I introduce to you Carrie Steinbrenner, the Director of Mathematics, who will be sharing with the board today our update on our math goals.
Great, thanks, Jalima. And I'm joined with my colleague, Michael, who is going to be running the deck for me. I am Carrie Steinbrenner, I'm the Director of Mathematics. Good afternoon to the commissioners and all my colleagues on the call. And I'm excited today to present the mathematics update. Here's our agenda for our time together. We'll review our priorities and goals, look at the data landscape, talk through some areas of focus, and the best part is to hear from one of our schools on how implementation of Reveal Math is going this year, and then we'll end with some upcoming events. And as always, here are our board strategic priorities. Today's topics include a focus on 1, 4, 6, and 7. And of course, our 4 district goals. The math goal is the latest to be added, which includes our desire to have more students meeting and exceeding grade level expectations in mathematics. So this portrait of a graduate slide is fairly new to these content updates, but illustrates our belief of the competencies that will best develop our students into productive citizens. The first bucket on this slide is where a lot of mathematics fits in. We want our students to become creative thinkers and problem solvers while also feeling confident in mathematics. This is our vision and mission for mathematics in the Office of Teaching and Learning. We've highlighted some words and phrases that will be touched on today, including equipping our teachers with high quality instructional materials. You'll hear me refer to this as HQIM today, and I'll share in the next few slides where we are with the Reveal Math implementation. And if you look to the left on this slide in our vision, you can see the connection to the previous slide of students becoming proficient and persistent mathematical thinkers. And my personal favorite is making mathematics meaningful and joyful. So where are we right now in reaching our goal? Here you can see the latest results from our spring MCAT results. We're trending in the right direction, but we still have a lot of work to do as we strive to meet the 25% proficiency by school year 26-27. So we're going to take a look at some of our math data landscape. There is a good news story here as it relates to our MCAP data from spring 2024. City Schools math proficiency increased 1.4 percentage points, outpacing the state. So again, work to do, but we are growing. And another exciting area to report is the increases over time of our students taking the Algebra 1 MCAP assessment in grade 8. We see a much higher proficiency rate compared to our 9th grade students. And as you'll hear in a bit, it's inspiring as we look to continue to expand access algebra in our middle grades. So last year, we identified 6 areas of focus for mathematics in our math improvement plan. And for our short time together today, we're going to share updates on the HQIM implementation and how we're supporting teachers, coaches, and school leaders with the rollout. This is our phased-in approach that we shared with the committee back in May. We're currently implementing Reveal Math in 32 schools across all 9 traditional school networks, or what we call CLNs. These schools were selected based on a variety of criteria, including their grade structure, K5, K8. We have standalone 6-8, 9-12, and a separate public day school. We also have 3 charter schools that are part of the Baltimore Curriculum Project that are included in Phase 1. So just a couple of weeks ago at the November Leadership Institute, we did share with school leaders that we will move to full implementation in school year 25-26. So instead of 3 phases, as outlined on this slide, we'll have a Phase 1 and a Phase 2. This decision was based on feedback on how well Phase 1 is going with the initial 32 schools, and leadership made this decision early to move to full implementation so that schools have plenty of time to prepare. Now, knowing that we are going to be moving to full implementation, we outlined here where we've been with as far as the training goes around that, where we're going to support teachers, coaches, and school leaders, and what we're currently doing. So this past summer, we hosted 3 options for Phase 1 schools in June, July, and August to accommodate for summer vacations, summer school, if teachers were teaching summer school, to engage in a 2-day institute for the initial training of Reveal Math. We trained about 350 teachers, paraprofessionals, coaches, and school leaders in summer of 2024. Currently, we're utilizing all of our systemic PD days in school year 24-25 to provide ongoing training to all Phase 1 schools. And during the March and May PD sessions this school year, we'll begin to train Phase 2 schools. Looking ahead, we will again host summer institutes for the next phase of schools to prepare for implementation, and we'll continue to utilize our systemic days to provide ongoing support. When we think about supporting our diverse learners, we'll continue to provide these bulleted supports, including co-designing professional learning sessions with our partners in the multilingual learner and special education offices to support how to use those HQIM resources for these students. The Gifted and Advanced Learning Office will continue to support specific professional learning sessions as well as the AP courses. So I mentioned earlier, we wanted to share where we are with algebra expansion. Our middle school strategy for mathematics includes honors pathways starting in grade 6, leading to taking Algebra 1 in grade 8. We'll continue to offer opportunities to take geometry in middle grades, utilizing resources such as Edmentum and other virtual options, as well as our Ingenuity programming. And this will allow students to enter high school with an Algebra 1 credit that's necessary for graduation and for their CCR requirements. So just some additional data. This chart the committee has seen before with updates on the most recent years. You can see that this shows the number of grade 8 students in Algebra 1 year over year. The changes fluctuate for a variety of reasons, including staffing at some of our smaller K-8 schools that are not able to offer a full traditional class, and also students' eligibility for advanced math courses based on various data sources. And in connecting this to our new HQIM Reveal Math, one of the many things we included in our RFP for the new Math HQIM was a clear honors pathway in middle school. So what this looks like in Reveal Math is course 1, which is equivalent to grade 6. And then there's an accelerated course for grade 7 with then Algebra 1 in grade 8. And as we move into full implementation, this will be the middle school pathway for honors. In October of 2024, the Council of Great City Schools, they released the key performance indicators for academics, and there were some noteworthy areas of improvement identified for Baltimore City related to algebra. Baltimore had the best quartile performance for the percent of Black male and female students who completed Algebra 1 by the end of 9th grade, and the best change in performance, including Black female students and male and female Hispanic students who completed Algebra 1 by the end of 9th grade. So some more positive movement for our city school students. So now this is the best part of the presentation. You get to stop hearing me talk and we get to hear from one of our schools. I'm going to pass this over to Principal Steve Skeen, math coach Heather Hortman, and one of their 7th grade math teachers, Cameron Scott from Mount Royal Elementary Middle School, who are going to share how year 1 of Reveal Math implementation is going. I don't know who's
All right,
taking my
good.
place.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep, no problem. Good afternoon, everybody. I am joined by Heather Hortman, our math coach, and Cameron Scott, our 7th grade teacher. Thanks for having us on today. And we're here to share how Reveal is going at Mount Royal. Go to the next slide. So we have been, the overall idea is that we're really pleased with Reveal compared to the previous curriculum. What we like about it most is that it has built-in resources for multilingual learners, students with disabilities, gifted and talented students, and honors track students. We have a really diverse population at Mount Royal, and so we need a curriculum that encompasses all these things and provide resources for these things. And then we see the ability provided by the curriculum for differentiation in every lesson by supporting access to the grade level math and also extending thinking and learning for our honor students. And then the ALEX program, which you see in the picture there with our 7th graders with personalized learning. And Mr. Scott, do you have anything to add to your experience as a teacher?
Yes. So, hi, everyone. I'm Cameron Scott. I teach 2 classes that are general education math as well as 2 accelerated courses. This picture is of my accelerated students. And again, this was during our push out of our rollout of ALEX and and taking the diagnostic. And overall, I've seen a lot more engagement between this year versus last year with the workbooks, as we said, with them being more colorful. Being able to actually reach out to some of my students who are more comfortable speaking in Spanish and using those resources, whether they're online or having access to those Spanish workbooks. And overall, I'm seeing like a lot more use of ALEX as well as the remediation tools to help students in general education who might not necessarily understand the topics early on, and so need those couple days of extra practice that the remediation tools allow for, as well as in honors, just having more exposure to additional practice problems that are all provided again through McGraw-Hill and Reveal. And so I'm seeing a lot of positive changes that are definitely reaching out to and helping me differentiate my classes between students who might need extra help, students who just need more practice, and those who are capable and willing to go on and expand their application of these topics. Yes.
All right, thank you. You can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right, awesome. So Mr. Scott mentioned the colorful workbooks, and that may seem like a small thing, but the workbooks are I mean, they're incredible and much better than what we had before. There's pictures, there's story problems. It is engaging for students to get into the books. They enjoy being in the books. And then there's interactive games that keep students engaged with the math. And there's one particular portion of the lesson that I really enjoyed as a principal walking into a class where there's an exploratory part of every lesson that hooks all students of different learning abilities into the lesson. It's almost like a notice and wonder situation where students are able to just share their ideas about a concept or a picture that really loops in all the kids to the lesson. And I've enjoyed the discovery part and hearing students very creative thinking about math as they dive into each lesson. And then the next slide, please. So the next steps at Mount Royal, right? So there's still a lot to learn. We're only in December of using Reveal, and we're still learning best practices. But Ms. Hortman and our teacher, Ms. Hortman has been amazing in leading our teachers and coaching our teachers and taking the time to really dive into the curriculum so that the teachers can understand it best. But we still have a lot to learn. We continue to send our staff to the Reveal trainings that the district has provided, and that has been really helpful. We also have weekly collaborative meetings where our math team gets together and discuss challenges and successes with the curriculum as they continue to learn how to best implement it for our students. And then finally, yeah, I mean, having an out of the classroom math coach is so crucial to any new initiative, I mean, to anything in math. But to roll out a new initiative is so crucial for Heather to be rolling that out and checking with me often on how it's going. But we're really excited for what we've done so far. I'm really excited for the future as we all kind of grow this Reveal muscle that we're working on. So again, that's kind of all I have, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks so much for joining us. I know it's a busy time of the afternoon with the school dismissal and everything else. So thank you so much. And thank you to Mr. Scott for sharing the input as well. We appreciate your voice and feedback on this journey. And as I wrap up and we look ahead, we just want to highlight the ongoing support we will offer from our math office for our math coaches. And I'm so glad Principal Skeen mentioned the need for the full release math coach. It's so important in this work to support the Reveal math implementation. And we'll continue to analyze and triangulate the assessment data that we monitor at the district level. And we'll proceed with learning and collecting feedback from our phase 1 schools so we can make real-time adjustments for phase 2. And in my last couple minutes, just a shameless plug for our upcoming Math Night event on December 11th at Port Discovery. You can see all the logistics on this slide, and we invite any commissioners to come out and talk to our families about mathematics in city schools. And we thank you for your time today in hearing our math update, and we'll stay on for any questions or comments.
Awesome. Thank you for the presentation. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? Okay. Welcome, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. I wanted to, I'll turn it over to Dr. Redding Lallinger for questions, and then I'll end the questions, after Kenyatta Bay. Dr. Redding Lallinger, do you have any questions?
I do. I saw Commissioner Kenyatta Bay's hand, so I'm happy to let him go first. I do have a couple questions, but Commissioner,
you have the mic.
go first.
Go ahead. No,
Oh, I have the mic.
We'll go
I
to,
have the mic.
Kenyatta
Okay.
Bay
All
after.
right. Sounds good. I appreciate it. First of all, thank you all so much, particularly to Principal Skeen and Mr. Scott for doing this during dismissal. I mean, that is that is some real commitment. If you're still on, Principal Skeen, I think I do still see you. Just a question, you know, we're obviously going to be expanding this across the district. I heard you talk about a lot of the great things that Reveal is doing for you all in the classroom, but what's maybe one thing you wish you had known, or something that maybe you had to learn the hard way about using Reveal that you're hoping your colleagues don't have to learn because you've already done, you're in the pilot phase? What's something that took a little while for folks to get used to with Reveal? And it could
That's a
be
really good
Principal Skeen or
question.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that is a really good question, and I'm actually going to hand that over to our amazing math coach and teacher to give you that information.
Hi, everyone. My name's Heather Hortman, and I'm the math coach here at Mount Royal. Mr. Skeen spoke to this component of Reveal called the launch, and I would also highlight that as being a real challenge for teachers to understand the intentionality behind, to learn how to embrace that component and to execute it properly. It feels really odd to ask math teachers to post a picture and have students ask notice and wonders, or, what question could you ask of this picture? And so we kind of struggled through that until I realized what was happening. And we were able to hold a collaborative session where I was able to teach them the intentionality and how that's a gatekeeping session for students. It tells kids that you can and you will access the learning that's going to occur in this classroom. Everybody can do math. And it really breaks down that barrier for kids. We were not executing that correctly until teachers understood the intentionality. So if I could go back and do it all again, I would start right there, because that's the first 5 minutes of a lesson, and it really sets the stage for the rest of the lesson. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. It's a great answer. Thank you. And this goes to Ms. Hortman or anybody. I would love to see some Reveal in action. I'd love to do a classroom visit with anyone in the office who has the time to do that. So if you can connect with me offline, we could find a classroom and spend a little bit of time. That would be great. So thank you all. My only other question was not for our site-based folks, but it was a little bit about the middle school algebra stuff. Commissioner Slater-Harrington, do you want me to hold that question until so we can let our site-based folks off, or do you want me to proceed with that question?
No, actually, my question was similar, particularly, I know we're just in the beginning stages of this, but in terms of our goal of preparing more students, particularly at the middle school level, to be algebra ready and take algebra and be ready for high school, I'm curious about the same thing. So please ask your question. Commissioner Kenyatta,
Great.
we haven't forgotten about you.
Sounds good. I think my question is a little bit about vertical alignment, from elementary to middle. So it seems to me that probably the biggest obstacle to getting more kids taking algebra and being on the path to take algebra in 6th grade so that they can take it in 8th grade is gaps that they're arriving to middle school with. And so what, if anything, are we doing with our 4th and 5th grade teachers to have a sort of feedback loop so folks know, these are the things that kids are not coming up to us with to be able to be ready for an honors track in 6th grade, or what some of the gaps are that are revealing themselves later. So if someone could speak to some of the vertical alignment challenges around getting as many kids ready for algebra as possible. And let me supplement that by saying I applaud you all on focusing on this. I think I've spoken to some of you before about how important this is to me, that we get as many kids exposed to algebra in 8th grade as possible. The data is clear about what that does for students' trajectory. So I want to applaud you all for focusing on that data and for the trend, which seems to be an increase over time. But clearly we all would like that number to go up even further. So if someone could speak to that piece.
Sure, I can take that one. And yeah, the vertical alignment in elementary, that's something I know we've been working on with our GAL office and in 4th and 5th grade with making sure that we are offering advanced mathematics opportunities in elementary school to prepare them for that. And also just constantly, looking at that data and understanding what is needed in the elementary grades for them to be successful in middle school. And so that's an area that we continue to work on of backwards mapping, to elementary school to make sure that they're prepared for those middle school mathematics, being prepared for algebra in middle school. So that's a continued work in progress for us in the alignment to the elementary grades.
Sorry, just to follow up on that a little bit, is this something that you all are thinking about and doing centrally, or is there any kind of direct feedback loop from sixth grade teachers and middle school teachers having conversations or collaborating with upper elementary teachers?
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of having our K-8 structure where they're in the same building and they're able to have that cross communication of students coming up into the middle grades. So in response to your question around like centrally, yes, we're going to be making sure we're backwards mapping to the elementary grades to make those connections for the preparedness in the middle school grades for algebra.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Slater-Harrington, I'm done with my questions. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Well, hello, how you doing? First of all, my apologies. Got off when the bus let me off, so I'm sorry. Here's the questions that I have for you. First of all, Ms. Hortman, I agree with you totally. I teach ESOL, and so therefore that the math is two things. It's cultural and it's conceptual. There's no real number 1, 2, or 3, but but the concept and being able to allow kids to interpret that concept through pictures, through areas of relationship, is the strengthening of math skill as they go along. So I really do agree with that concept. I'm very pleased with what you've done. The other thing is cultural. And when I say it's cultural, I'm saying that, and the question that springs from that is that a student can come out of a family, that is leery of math, of the math process. And what do we do in this programming to make a connection between the family and the student? Because if they're retreating back to the cave, are they going to come back out and move forward? That becomes the question. You understand what I'm asking? Do you?
Would you like, I can take that one. And then Ms. Hortman, if you want to jump in. What I can say, and Carrie can add to this too, when we think about our multilingual learners and families, one of the reasons that we chose those materials, one of the reasons is because they do have a lot of supports for our multilingual students. And so making sure that there are supports for them aligned to access, to make sure that, and it's aligned to WIDA levels. So it will tell you if you're on a WIDA level 1 or 2, these are the supports for this particular lesson you might look at, and so on. So that's one of the ways, but also as it relates to families, and Carrie shared, the plug around what we're doing with regards to Math Night, making sure that we do have opportunities for our families, inclusive of our families, of our multilingual students, so that they do understand not only, what the resources are that their children are using, but just building their awareness of math concepts so that they have opportunities to support students, their students at home with math in that particular grade. I don't know, Principal Skeen or Ms. Hortman, if you have, I don't know what your population or what your percentages of multilingual learners and their families at your sites. I don't know if there's anything that you can add around specifically what you might be doing. I think there are also resources in Reveal. There are resources in Reveal that you can also share with families, even outside of the Math Night, so that families understand what the lesson is, what the upcoming learning will be. But I don't know, Ms. Hortman, if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, sure. You're exactly right. Reveal provides family newsletters that our teachers are sending home with the families to keep them aware of what students are learning. And they're really nicely crafted where it provides not just narrative around what is occurring, but pictorials and graphs and step-by-step instruction for families to support their learners at home. At a school-based level, we actually just a couple weeks ago hosted our family night school. And this was an opportunity where we invited all of our elementary families, and we'll have our middle school one soon. And our lens and our goal here was to get families in the building to have some fun, but to build their capacity at supporting their learner at home. So we were teaching them activities and games because while Reveal's different this year, Common Core just in general is still a struggle for a lot of our families. So our charge is just continuing to bridge that gap and helping them to feel comfortable with working with their student at home. So we do our own outreach type programs. The district offers great math night initiatives and offers great outreach. And then Reveal offers some resources that we use as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Because I've had a student come to me say, Mr. Bay, I'm learning English, and now you have me learning this other language. I said, what other language? She said, math. so I just wanted to make that clear. All right, thank you very much.
My question is, we heard from the teacher. I'm just really curious around teacher adoption. I love now not all schools have wonderful math coaches like Ms. Hortman, but the curriculum is only as good as the fidelity of implementation. And so I know you highlighted some of that in the presentation, but if you can go just a little bit deeper on that, and then what are we looking at? I know we have our standardized test scores or what have you, but like, Jalima, when you look back at this and say, this was really successful implementation, this is the evidence of it, what would that evidence be?
I can start with the first question. I think any change in curriculum, right, has to be in tandem, like from leadership all the way down to the teacher level. And the district did a good job of offering summer training for our teachers. And so we knew about the change, I think, in the spring, and PD was offered over the summer, even before we broke for summer. And Heather did a good job of making sure that teachers were signed up. And I think we had all but one teacher, and we have a big building, sign up for it, and they were excited. So I think it was met with a lot of reception because folks were not so happy with Eureka. And so I think that, and then part of it, Heather was selling it like, this is what we're doing, and we need you to be prepared for it. And our awesome teachers, they jumped right in. And then the continuous training, and then like Heather and I went to a training just for principals and math coaches for Reveal over the summer, so that I was aware of the nuances, and I got books, and she was trained a couple of times. And so like me knowing what I'm looking for when I'm going to classes and work with my assistant principals was helpful. On top of, what was my other thing? Just the continuous learning, right? It's having folks all throughout the building knowing what's going on, and then talking about it at collaborative planning. Heather can speak on her one-on-one coaching that she does with her teachers, so that it is kind of catered support for teachers who are really getting it quickly, and then teachers who are really struggling to get it. And so that one-on-one support is there to move towards fidelity. Because I agree with you, right? It's no good if teachers aren't teaching with fidelity, especially the first year, because you don't know how you can grow and develop until you've done it with fidelity for the first time.
Before we toss it over to Ms. Hortman, I wanted to talk to you, Principal Skeen, just about, one of the muscles we're trying to build as a district is our principal muscle to be able to be that instructional leader when you're managing everything else. Have you found that this gives you some tools maybe to lean into those conversations with your educators to improve their practice and also improve yours?
Yeah, I mean, it does, and I have to take time to understand it. But like I said, Heather and I have a fantastic relationship, and we have check-ins every other week for at least an hour. So we are always talking about what we need to do. And like I shared about the launch being my favorite part, like that is valuable experience to know ahead of time. But you know, it is a lift, right? There's a lot going on, and so like I can't say enough about having that coach in that situation.
Thank you, Principal Skeen. I can also jump into Commissioner Slater Harrington and share, in addition to the Reveal professional learning that we've done, we also recognize the need to support teachers in building their content knowledge, right? So it's one thing to use the materials, but also just understanding the math is really important. So what we have done is we've offered content knowledge sessions over the summer with our partners and Curriculum Associates to be able to deepen teachers' content knowledge. And then also what we've done or been able to do this year, which we're really excited about, is having offerings for our math coaches / leads, because we know not every building has a math coach, but they might have a math lead. And so Carrie and Michael Turlick, who leads this work, have done an incredible job of building a learning trajectory for those math coaches and leads to come out monthly to engage in professional learning, to engage and dialogue with their peers, to be able to deepen their math content knowledge as well and understand best coaching practices so that they can support their teachers in getting better at their own practice. So that has been, I think, really powerful and helpful, and we're excited to be able to continue to do that work with the coaching, especially mirroring what we've been able to do with literacy coaches. And then you asked about evidence. I think Principal Skeen also touched on it, like this idea of fidelity. I think we'll be successful if we see people using the materials and using the materials at first with fidelity to make sure that folks get comfortable with materials, that they understand what each of these components of the lesson is. And so Ms. Hortman talked about the launch and teachers not clearly understanding what the launch is. So I think success looks like teachers using the materials, but also understanding the why behind each instructional move that's embedded within the materials, that teachers are using those resources. Ultimately, yes, we want to see that reflected in student achievement data, but we also know it takes time, and it's going to take time for our teachers to get comfortable with the material. So I think for us, at the end of phase one, like getting that feedback and seeing that teachers are really using the materials and understanding the why behind those materials in classrooms and gathering those lessons learned to be able to support our teachers in getting ready for full implementation for next year.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to add that it has been really beneficial to have a phased-in approach, that it's allowed us to learn from schools like Mount Royal, and watch for invites from us, because we have been in a lot of schools and it really is helpful to see it in action. But that is the evidence, I think, is where it's really going to come from, of everything we're collecting from having that phased-in approach. So I just wanted to add that in.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Kanyatabe, I saw you lit up. Was that a former hand, not a current hand?
No, it's a current hearing.
Okay.
Just real quick, I just wanted to ask, because we look at math, we look at a construct that's theoretical in itself, and what I need to know is a practical outcome. What do you foresee in this besides the data? Because I'm hearing, our numbers will look better, we'll grow, and we'll have more people achieving and passing tests, but what do you hope to have as a resultant of these efforts in your scholars? Where will they be going? What's the practicality of their achievement? Because if we don't give them practicality, they don't reach for it. And that's bottom line. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I would like to jump in first because when you ask that question, something really, really sticks out to me. Other than like Carrie mentioned in the mission and vision, like students finding joy, math being joyful. So that's one thing that we want to be able to see. Not sure why that thumb is coming up, but sure, yes, thumbs up. But the other thing too, and what I love so much about the Reveal resources is it shows students how to use math not only in everyday life, but it also makes connections to different career opportunities, especially in the STEM field. And for me, yes, we want to see student achievement grow, but we also want to see students excited to learn about math and see ways that they can apply math and see a future in what they might want to do that connects to their mathematic experience. For me, it's that young people find joy and that they also see themselves in the future, possibly in a career that connects to math instruction. But I don't know, Carrie or Miss Hortman.
Yeah, no, I love that question because it connects right back to the portrait of a graduate that we brought up. Like we want students to be effective communicators. We want them to be problem solvers. We want them to love math. And I think when you have an engaging math classroom, that's what that's going to lead to. So I think it makes that direct connection there. Thanks for that question. I loved it.
And I can speak to the connectedness, in a school setting. I'm really looking forward to children making the connection that math, in a lot of curriculums, math feels very one and done. Like, oh, I learned this in second grade. I learned this in third grade. And we're just starting to see glimmers of Reveal and the trajectory and the vertical alignment. Today, I was in a first grade room and the kiddos had the answer on the left side of the equal sign. And the teacher said, well, when you're in algebra and you're isolating the variable, it could be on either side. And the kids were kind of like, what? And I thought, oh yeah, they're already starting to see this connectedness that math is, this skill that's going to build. And then selfishly, I want to never hear again one of my lovely 8th grade friends say, no, I don't want to take Algebra 1. It's too hard. I want them to say, yes, I'm ready to tackle this challenge. I want to be in that Algebra 1 class. So many of our scholars are almost there, but they're just so hesitant. They lack that math confidence. And I really hope to see that grow. But I agree, this was a great question.
Thank you.
This,
you.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just saying thank you.
Okay. It's really a great pivot point. I wanted to take us back to our district goal to increase the percent of students proficient on the MCAP grade 3 to 8 and the Algebra 1 assessment. I love all of the foundational goals. I think once you increase student efficacy, their belief that they can do it, once you implement with fidelity, you have a strong foundation, but it's got to lead us to achieving these goals. So what I'm really looking for out of this adoption is fundamentally, can we get our most vulnerable students to meet and exceed? And I know that you said that you are focusing this implementation on phase 1 schools. I want, ultimately, when I look back at this adoption, it's like, yeah, it got us there. We made strides. I don't think that there is any panacea or anything like that will solve all of everything. But for this level of adoption, I really hope that it gets us back to that goal and really advancing. And so I'd love to see in phase 2, what are our targets that are going to help us move along on that pathway to realizing our goal. All righty. Amazing. Thank you very much. Ms. Portman, if you math coach, maybe I wouldn't have been an English teacher, but that's another story. We can do math. We can do math. Thank you for that. Now we'll move into, if you're looking at our agenda, it says the Liberty Goal update, but it's really our literacy goal update. Jalima, are you still on point?
Yes, I'm going to kick it off. So excited to be able to share the updates now for literacy around our literacy goals. So again, for folks who may be joining a little later, my name is Jalima Alisea. I'm the Executive Director in the Office of Teaching and Learning, and I am very proud to present our Director of Literacy, Heather Blackwell, and she will be guiding us through the literacy goal updates this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Slater Harrington, board members, colleagues, and community members. As Jalima mentioned, my name is Heather Blackwell, and I have the honor to serve as the Literacy Director here in City Schools. You'll probably find that there are similarities between the math as well as the literacy updates for today, in addition to just sharing some general sense of the landscape of where we are with literacy. We'll go into a little bit more of the specifics around our areas of focus, as well as hear from one of our schools that is doing a really good job of bringing the initiatives, to life. So the presentation today will focus primarily in priority 1, really thinking about how are we ensuring effective, relevant, rigorous instruction that's designed to prepare our students to be independent, creative, and compassionate leaders. That's directly connected to our literacy office mission, which, as you see highlighted, is really about keeping students at the center of all decision making. So as we think about our HQIM, as we think about professional learning and coaching, continuous improvement, ensuring that students are at the center. And our literacy vision is centered on this idea that we want all of our students to be prepared to thrive in Baltimore and beyond. Of course, all of this connects to the portrait of a graduate. We especially center in the idea of having our students as creative and innovative thinkers, effective communicators, and ensuring that they are competent because we have prepared them well in ELA and English. Our grounding for the school year is really around our literacy plan theory of action, which is really anchored in foundational knowledge related to the science of reading, and that's from pre-K through 12th grade. The idea of building capacity in our literacy coaches as they ensure that our teachers have what they need, and then monitoring implementation of all of our programs, our professional learning, and our assessments. Our hope is that at the end of all of the work that we do, we will meet our district literacy goal of ensuring that more of our students exceed grade level expectations. We have shown some success in this area, particularly in the spring of 2023, as well as 2024. We increased proficiency on MCAT. So moving a little bit deeper into the data landscape. As we saw with math, we in city schools did outpace the state in terms of our percentage point increase. And more specifically, if you look at the percentage point change from 2016 to 2024, as we look not only at all of ELA, but in individual grade bands, you can see the trajectory of growth for city schools. Internally, year by year from 2022 through 2024, you can also see that we are continuing to improve in our performance in each grade band. This moves us into our specific areas of focus for this school year. From pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, we are really anchored in 3 specific areas. That's understanding the science of reading, writing across content areas, as well as literacy coaching. Specifically in pre-kindergarten through 8th grade, we're really looking at those foundational skills connected to the science of reading and how we support our students with additional supports in small group instruction. 9th through 10th grade, we are still anchored in the science of reading, but thinking about English content, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension, and supporting our teachers with small group instruction during their English language time blocks. Specifically around coaching, these are our areas of focus. So first is just developing our literacy coaches' capacity in core coaching practices. So they do receive additional professional learning specifically related to their content areas, but also strengthening their ability with coaching outcomes. Coaches use a common observation tool to collect instructional data as they visit classrooms and support teachers. And they utilize this information and resources as they conduct their teacher instructional debriefs and prepare for planning and coaching support. So we use our efforts in the science of learning, our efforts in writing, and our efforts in coaching to ensure that we are supporting all of our students' needs. We continue to offer science of reading specific training for our ELD teachers, as well as our teachers of students with disabilities. We are also training our IEP chairs in additional information and resources around the science of reading to connect to IEP development. We're also offering accelerated learning training for all teachers so that they are able to provide supports for advanced pathways for all students. More specifically for our middle school strategy, we're really anchored in 2 ideas, and one is the development of our teachers and staff. The other is how do we support and accelerate student achievement. So specifically in middle school, we have science of reading training for adolescent literacy. So helping middle school teachers as well as middle school coaches understand how all of the theories related to the pillars of reading are applicable for middle school students and middle school instruction. Wit and wisdom training, not just basic foundational training for our teachers, but also what we like to call our 2.0. So once teachers have learned the curriculum, they're comfortable with the curriculum, how are you able to differentiate? How do you apply appropriate scaffolds to support your students? And also ensuring that there is personalized learning support for teachers so that during personalized learning blocks of time, they're able to align the support for their student specific need with our iReady resources. And the way that we see that in our student outcomes is, as mentioned, small group personalized learning for students. In addition, we have honors 6 and 7 using accelerated wit and wisdom curriculum. And for the first time, we have 8th grade students who are able to take honors English 1 and receive high school credit. Something that is very exciting that we have been able to implement is our Science of Reading Fellowship. This is where 40 teachers received deep training and coaching in science of reading aligned instruction, both for whole group as well as small group. They received intensive coaching with planning and feedback, as well as one-on-one support for data analysis to increase student performance. We currently have 20 of those fellows who are still serving as lead facilitators for science of reading professional learning for various groups across the district. And we are working on recruitment of new fellows for next school year. One of the exciting outcomes that we noted with our fellowship is that as we think about our internal assessments for student growth and performance, that those fellows' classroom scores were actually even higher than the district average. Our various moves related to the science of reading are very exciting and important for us as we consider the newly adopted MSDE literacy policy, which will require teacher licensure related to the science of reading. It will also ask for a third grade retention policy for students and require that we have research-based interventions for students who may need additional support. So in order to think about all of the various initiatives that were mentioned, how are they actually realized in a school setting? We are going to hear from the school leader at Baltimore Design School. Baltimore Design School is a 6th through 12th grade school that is ranked #1 in Baltimore City schools because of student performance and the efforts of the principal and the staff there. We're very excited to partner with all of our schools, but we really enjoy our experience working with and learning from the leadership at Baltimore Design School because they really are able to take the model that they have for their school and think about how do we support students who may still have additional needs, as well as accelerate students in various areas. So with that, I am very pleased to introduce Principal Brosine from Baltimore Design School, who will give us a little more information about how he and his team are realizing the literacy vision in city schools.
Thank you, Director Blackwell, and I want to say good afternoon to everybody on the call. It is my honor to present some information about Baltimore Design School and talk a little bit about how we are utilizing the model that Director Blackwell just shared. So I've kind of broken down what I'm going to discuss into 3 main components: our coaching, our literacy coaching in particular, our intervention block and supports, and writing across the curriculum. And that will be the focus areas for my portion of this meeting. And so with regard to coaching, we were lucky to utilize one of our high school teachers when we hired our literacy coach and moved her from the classroom to more so into our coaching role based on her work with students in her time here at Baltimore Design School. And so one of the things that we've done and been very intentional about with regard to coaching is having regular check-ins between her and myself. I work with her and come and attend the academic planning sessions for many of the ELA and humanities meetings. And so we like to discuss and plan our plan of action, looking at the larger scope for the school year and breaking that down into more manageable chunks throughout units and then monthly and weekly meetings. And so that collaboration ensures that we're all seeing things and working from the same page and kind of infusing information that we've learned at various settings, whether it's professional learning opportunities, principal meetings, lit coach meetings. We're making sure that we're unified in our approach. And so those meetings become very productive to ensure, like, hey, making sure that we are able to communicate with one another and then lay out a very clear plan of action for the teachers, so they don't feel like they're being pulled in multiple directions from their administrator or from their coach in that sense. And so that's one of the main things that we've done, is make sure that we're communicating effectively. And then by participating in the collaborative planning meetings on a weekly basis, she and I are able to facilitate interactions with the teachers. Again, sometimes we can branch off into small group sessions. That may mean I'm working with some of the social studies teachers as a social studies teacher myself, and she worked with ELA, or even small group it in, hey, I'm working with high school ELA, she's working with middle school ELA. And so that has really had an impact on making sure that we're supporting teachers in real time in the smallest group setting possible, where they're still able to learn from one another, but also hear from whether it's the lit coach, the administrator, and some feedback and some guidance. And so that has been productive for us as well. Again, there's also opportunities for us to work as whole group. And so that's not to say we're exclusively working in small groups or subsets of our larger content teams, but we're much more able to engage one another and collaborate. And that's the important piece, that we utilize the data-driven instructional cycles through our academic planning meetings. And we really look and see through the sequence of instruction, I would say. Some of the meetings we're going to be looking at lesson plans, where teachers are bringing or presenting their lesson plans, and colleagues are looking at it, looking for specific components, let's say, of the instructional framework. Our focus has predominantly been around Teach Action 2 of the instructional framework, where we're really looking at grappling with complex texts and tasks, differentiating and scaffolding learning, and utilizing gradual release. And so we're looking at that intentionally in a teacher's lesson plan and providing feedback around that, potential next steps for the teacher to take notes on, summarize out with the team and say, hey, hearing what the conversation is, here's where I'm thinking I can go next. And so it becomes much more of a team approach, which is specifically helpful because now we have the 6th grade ELA teacher, the 7th grade ELA, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, who can bring the breadth of knowledge at various grade level learning pieces and knowledge of grade level standards, and say, hey, this may be a way to differentiate that because this is what that skill looks like or standard looks like in the 7th grade versus the 10th grade. So that's been very helpful too as we look at plans. One of the other main pieces that we want to emphasize during the academic planning when we're looking at lesson plans is making sure we're seeing evidence of internalization of the curriculum. What is the curriculum suggesting we're doing? What's in there? And then how are we seeing that evident in the teacher's plan? What are the students expected to be doing? What are the teachers expected to be doing? And asking some questions around that. I see this activity or task was adjusted or cut. What made that decision? And we're really looking to hear teachers talk about, hey, what are the section diagnostics looking like? What does the culminating task look like at the end of the unit? And seeing how they see their through lines from a lesson to those formative assessments and ultimately to that summative assessment. So that work is also taking place during academic planning. So teachers are hearing and reflecting on their thinking, and other teachers are hearing and processing that same thing too. So that's been a major component to make sure we, aren't just looking at a plan and saying, hey, this looks good. How does it align to what's in the curriculum? And how does it make sure that it's meeting the needs of our scholars here at BDS? In addition, what we want to make sure is that our coach is not just coaching and during academic plannings, and that's the last time we see them, right? Once a week, the coach is pushing in, doing informal observations and checking in. Hey, we talked about this. You talked about, hey, this was what I was doing next in my instructional plan. How do we see that in action? So not only providing feedback on the plan itself, but then providing feedback on the delivery and the implementation of that plan. And so the coach, myself as well, and other members of the leadership team are pushing into classrooms on a regular basis to see what teachers are executing in the classroom and how it aligns to the curriculum and what the plan suggested. This typically has been a focus around, again, Teach 2, the instructional framework for us. Not that we're neglecting some of the other Teach actions, including Teach 3 and Teach 5, the questioning and the student-to-student interaction. But generally, we want to focus on those areas as some high leverage areas for us. And based on some of the formal observation data that we have, being very intentional about, hey, these are the areas we need to see the most growth in as well. But the coach also doesn't just, pop in and observe and pop back out and then provide feedback to the teachers to say, hey, this is what I observed and here's what we can do to continue to grow. She's also able to push in and support with small groups as well. And so again, making sure that she's also rolling up her sleeves a little bit and ensuring that, hey, I'm here as a support too. How can I work with a specific group who may be struggling with this part of a standard or this standard while you work on a subset of students who may be struggling on a different skill or a different standard. And so that has been helpful too, that the coaching can take place in real time. And it allows the coach to say, hey, here's some moves that I'm making while the teacher's in the classroom as well. And so that's how we've really been utilizing our literacy coach on a number of components. In addition to that, as it comes to what we call our intervention block or advisory period, we've carved out time Monday through Friday to hold an intervention block. And our lit coach is actively involved there too, but all teachers are involved in that too. So let me start with the lit coach. During our intervention block, the literacy coach has a pullout group basically. So we have a group of students who meet with her every day during that intervention block. We have it from 9:48 to 10:40. And she has a smaller subset of students in middle school who meet with her and work through the Read 180 program. These students were identified as struggling readers, and we've looked at a variety of data sources. We looked at previous grades in ELA, social studies courses. We looked at MCAP grades from previous school years, and we looked at our Achieve 3000 level set and got a sense of where students were at. And so for some of the students who aren't doing so well, and we see very low numbers and struggling at reading, we did a little bit more assessment in that sense to see, hey, is this a reading fluency a concern? And when we identified those students who really need very targeted supports, the literacy coach has pulled them in and meets with them and operates the Read 180 program to help strengthen their ability to read and become more fluent in that. And so that way we can build off of that and grow from there. We've had some students who have made progress already and have transitioned back into their typical quote unquote intervention block. But a majority of the students who started there are still with us as we continue to support that reading level. Beyond that daily intervention block, each teacher works with a group of students and they have a assigned task each day. So sometimes during the intervention block, our students are working on personalized learning platforms. For one day, it may be Imagine Math. For another day, it may be Achieve 3000, which is building that fluency.
Teachers and staff, the time now is 4:40. The building will be closing at 5 o'clock. Again, the time.
Apologies, some club announcements there. So as I was mentioning, when it comes to that intervention block each day, different grade levels are doing different things each day, but every grade level has days for personalized learning where they're working on Achieve 3000 or Imagine Math. We also have tutoring options that are taking place during that day. And then on Fridays, students have a chance to sign up for an additional coach class to take place during the school day in an area of need. So if they have reassessments that need to take place, if they have extra learning that needs to happen, if they missed a day and need to catch up, they can sign up for their teacher's session on Friday during intervention to get that additional support and additional help. And so that intervention block has really done wonders because what it does is it takes and allows teachers to focus on students of need without trying to infuse that into the daily classroom and the daily instruction that they plan for. It also allows us to prioritize Achieve 3000 Imagine Math lessons to help grow students based on their own individualized data and provide that level of support when, again, it's not taking time out of, quote unquote, the teacher's instructional period where we're trying to fit things in that may not necessarily fit. And so that intervention block has done a phenomenal job of helping students where they're at and building some of their areas of growth and beginning to transition them into areas of strength. We've seen a phenomenal growth in Lexile scores over the course of the school year utilizing this format. We've also seen a sharp decline in a number of students far below basic in Imagine Math as they transition to below basic and basic. Again, it's a journey that we're looking at, and the advantage that we have is we can work with students in middle school and with students coming to high school with us as well. In many cases, we can really work to build that fluency and build that growth across many school years as well. Last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about writing across the curriculum. I was fortunate enough to sign up for the Writing Revolution half-day trainings. There were 3 sessions that we had last school year where I got to learn a little bit more about the Writing Revolution and receive targeted coaching from the lead of that program. And so we are utilizing that this year, and our schools also signed up where that coach who was working with me as an administrator is now working with our staff on a monthly basis, coming in and providing insights and strategies through the Writing Revolution. Right now, we started with our humanities team, our ELA and social studies, and really working to infuse writing strategies into the curriculum. And it's always funny as a recipient of professional learning, we always hear, well, this isn't something else, this isn't something different. And this is honestly one thing that flows right into any class. Again, we're focusing on ELA and social studies, but anytime you do writing, you can use strategies in the Writing Revolution to help students expand their thinking and really work at the sentence level. So beyond just stating very short and choppy sentences, some of the strategies that we're utilizing at BDS are helping students to expand that, whether it's because, but so, for example, where students start expanding their thinking and using evidence to support their statements. What we're seeing is teachers learning the strategies, and now, hey, I can put this in my warm-up, I can put this in my exit ticket, I can put this as a part of my writing with ease, because again, it naturally fits in and it helps students to expand their writing and make it more deep and make the critical thinking more evident in what they're writing about. We know students here at Baltimore Design School often struggle with the longer extended writing pieces, but using these strategies, we're working at their starting point and helping them to build and expand. And so while we started in ELA and social studies, as we continue on, we're going to infuse that into math, science, and CTE, because again, there's writing available everywhere. And that's a major component of helping students improve their MCAT scores and their ability to communicate clearly. Again, this is all part of the larger goal that we just heard about from Director Blackwell. And as we're doing those lesson plan checks during academic planning, we have a chance to check and see, hey, this is a great opportunity to use some strategies and scaffold in those writing revolution techniques to help students expand their writing. So by being very intentional and connective between administration and coaching, by pushing into classrooms, by providing time during the school day for interventions to take place, and by infusing writing across multiple content areas, we're really looking to accelerate students' growth in literacy. At this point, I want to thank you guys for hearing me out and talk a little bit about BDS, and I appreciate the opportunity to present to this group.
Thank you, Principal Brosine, for sharing. And hopefully everyone on the call was able to see the intentionality and the alignment that we really are attempting to bridge between schools and central office. So what's next for literacy? We are planning on continuing our professional learning via our differentiated learning arcs for teachers. So as Principal Brosine mentioned, we have opportunities for teachers to increase and improve their practice in Tier 1. So how are they working with their students in whole group, in small group, thinking about differentiated learning for different student populations, as well as the writing revolution. We are continuing to deepen professional learning for our literacy coaches through our forums where, similar to math coaches and leads, they come out of their buildings once a month for an entire day of development around various aspects of coaching as well as content. We are excited to host next Thursday our first Literacy Leadership Forum for principals, where we will continue to expand the learning around literacy, coaching, writing across the curriculum, as well as the science of learning for our school leaders side by side with their literacy coaches. And last but not least, we will also continue to engage the community via various literacy community events. So hopefully, as I mentioned before, throughout our presentation, you were able to see how we truly are working collectively and collaboratively to keep students at the center of our decision making so that they are indeed prepared to thrive in Baltimore and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Just wanted to double check with Jalima. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
No, ma'am.
All right, so then we're prepared for questions. I see, as always, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay is up, has his hands up. So, Commissioner.
There you go. Helps to have the mic on too, right? Okay, couple of things. I want to preface my questions with a couple of thoughts that literacy is much broader than the usage and the implementation, the usage of the English language. Okay, it's just much broader, And if we're not careful, we can build an out. Ivory tower around ELA, and not realize the outreach. So I have a couple of questions. One of is the cross-curricular development of literacy, because literacy happens throughout. Number two is, are the measuring devices that we use, NCAP and all like that, fully adequate in measuring what society needs out of literacy? Because we're moving into an age of both collaboration and of creativity, and this is what industry is looking for. I see, Principal Brazine, I think I said it right. Yeah, you come out of social studies, and so therefore you recognize the breadth of what literacy actually means. The last thing that I had to ask was the curriculum pressure on teachers. Are we still looking at an industrial construct where we're looking at how fast or how can we make this mark in this time? While instead of a developmental sort of structure where we're actually developing our students to become acquainted with literacy, like in various areas. One of the strongest pushes I have in my classroom is this area of self-expression. One of the biggest pushes. And the use of literacy for that in various environments. So I just want you to speak on those small little subjects there, and I'll sit back and listen to what you got to say. How'd that sound?
I can go ahead and start, and then allow Director Blackwell to chime in. So I think I bucketed it in three questions. The first one I think was around disciplinary literacy, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. And so, yes, we've actually had some great strides this year with our work around disciplinary literacy, making sure that we, bring literacy to our teachers and our school leaders in more areas than just ELA, because we understand literacy lives across all of our content areas. Something that we have done specifically this year is for our Leadership Institute. We actually had a focus on science, and in January, we'll have a focus on social studies to show our school leaders the alignment between the literacy standards and writing, and how that also aligns to the content in science and social studies as well. In addition to that, making sure that we are also building capacity with our literacy coaches and understanding how to support literacy across the contents. There's still a lot of work that we need to do in that space, but that is something that we are doing. And then we have principals like Principal Brazine, who really understands that and is pushing that work across his school community. And we have other principals that recognize that and are doing that as well. And that is something that we are supporting and making sure that we are providing opportunities for our teachers and our school leaders to engage in literacy even outside of ELA content. Heather, I don't know if you wanted to add anything around that.
Not around that specific topic, but I was thinking about the other 2 points. I don't know if you wanted to address those first, or I could go on.
No, go ahead.
So I think one of the things that you definitely hit on, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, is that idea that MCAP gives us one measure, but not all of the measures. And so that is one thing that is definitely beneficial about grounding in our various curricular resources, because they also offer curricula embedded assessments that allow students to express themselves creatively, to have Socratic seminars and other opportunities to think freely around topics and not feel restricted to specific standardized assessment formats for engagement. And I think that's part of the reason why our science of reading work around the pillars of literacy is so important, and that we're doing that work from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, because we're able to utilize the programs, yes, but anchor teacher and coach and now principal training and understanding in this notion that where the learning really lives is in the 5 pillars. And so we're able to identify where in our various curricular resources students have an opportunity to engage deeply across those ideas. So grounding deeply in the comprehension, thinking about vocabulary, ensuring the development of their fluency practices, also phonics and phonemic awareness, so that teachers, yes, we do ask them to utilize the materials that we have and to live in the curriculum, but they understand the various moves that they're making within the curriculum, to the point that Principal Brosine raised around how they're able to use various strategies to really address their differentiated student needs.
I want to thank you for that. I'm unfortunately, I don't know why my camera's not coming on, but you know, and so I don't need to scare anybody, so I might as well leave it off. So, but still, thank you very much. You're very clear on that. And that's, I'll pass that back to Commissioner Slater Harrington then. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Redding Lallinger, do you have any questions for the team?
Just a quick comment, not a question. Wanted to first of all just thank Heather and Jalima for the presentation, and then also just to say to Principal Brosine and the staff there at BDS that I'm really impressed with the intentionality of the differentiation, the differentiated approach when you talk about the daily differentiated block to all of the things that you're doing and all the options that students have to fill gaps. It is, clearly a reason for a lot of the success that you've had over there. And so just wanted to appreciate that, appreciate that, and see how we can continue to spread that level of intentionality around differentiation around high schools in the district. So thank you for your work there, and I appreciate the presentation. No questions from me.
Thank you.
Likewise, just want to acknowledge, I love hearing from our team. So thank you, Heather, thank you, Jalima, but bringing it home with school leaders and their teams is so effective in letting us know exactly what's going on in real time. So kudos to you and your team, Mr. Brosine, and I'm just so proud of the achievements that you've been able to have. And I would echo the sentiments around differentiation, which is important at every grade band, but particularly in high school, in making sure that our learners and our scholars are getting exactly what they need before they go off into the world. So thank you for everything you and your team do. All righty. If there's I don't have any other questions. Kudos to the academics team for great presentations today. I think that will lead us. Sorry, it's messing up. I think that leads us into our procurement agenda items. Do we have members of our procurement team on?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello and welcome.
Hi, how are you? My name
good.
is I'm Katie, or Catherine Kamenecki, and I'm a contracts
Hey,
administrator.
Katie, I know you.
Yes, many emails. Where's that? What's the status?
Exactly.
But I'm a contracts administrator here at City Schools, and I will be presenting the procurement items for the committee today. Section 12.1, this is Studies Weekly. The CAO requests the board's approval to increase the contract with Studies Weekly for social studies, a supplemental instructional material. The board is requested to increase the estimated total contract amount from $600,000 to $900,000. And the contract term is May 10th, 2023 through May 9th of 2026.
Okay, do we have anyone from the academics team here to kind of discuss? Hey there. So, hi,
Hi.
Jalima. I noticed with this particular one, the increase, and am I thinking correctly? These are consumables that are sent home with young people, like the Time magazines and things of that nature?
Yes, they are supplemental resources that are available to schools that we use with our social studies materials.
Okay. As we have gone through approving procurement items, I'm always wanting to make sure that because of the high cost, that we're pretty effective, and they are pretty effective. I noticed the evidence of effectiveness in this was one that was a national one, I think, from Fordham University. And I'm just curious about what we have, since this is a current contract, what we have to suggest that um, this is really working, increasing literacy. I know that was one of the byproducts or outcomes of it. Um, how is this helping us? And particularly, I'm asking this because it's about to be budget season and we have some really hard decisions to make around budget. And when we consider supplemental materials, I just want to make sure that they're worth the bang for our buck.
Yes, thank you for the question, Commissioner. So it is something that we are still, that we continue to look at. What we do know is that they are like I shared, it is a supplemental resource that our schools can purchase in addition to the other resources that we have curated for social studies instruction. We are seeing that more schools do want to have this resource as teachers. I think the biggest data that we have is like the qualitative data that we hear from teachers around this resource and how this resource is impacted their social studies instruction. And we know that we currently have over 60 schools that are using it through their own purchase. And so we want to be able to allow schools to continue to acquire these resources as our social studies teachers have found it really helpful to be able to engage students in the social studies content.
Okay. Okay. Do any other commissioners have questions around this procurement item?
Yeah, I guess mine was more about the actual usage. You said you had some anecdotal data. I'm really curious, like how these are being used. Are they being really well integrated into the curriculum? Or are they just sort of handed out for students to take home and read at their leisure? I didn't get a sense for how they are actually being used. So I don't know if you could shed a little bit of light. I'm sure it varies from school to school, but what have you heard or what have you seen about how they're being used?
Yeah, so they are fully integrated into our scope and sequence as an option for teachers to be able to use, and we do have unit plans for them. And so it's not, for schools that do purchase them, there is support for teachers to help them to support them in how to use those materials effectively in their social studies instruction. So it is not just that they are sending those materials home for homework. They are fully integrated. If the school has purchased those supplemental resources, they are fully integrated into the units.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kenyatta.
No questions here.
Alrighty. Thank you for that. Going back to Katie now.
The second item, section 12.2, The Children's Guild, Inc. The CAO requests the board's approval of a non-public school funding agreement with the Children's Guild, Inc. To provide non-public placements. The estimated total contract amount is $993,149.50, and the contract term is June 5th, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Can you help me understand? You said the contract would have began in June. Is that June 2025?
So this was July 5th,
Or
2024.
we're already in it?
Yeah, so I believe, I think non-public can speak to this, but I think the grant term with MSDE was effective July 5th.
Okay, so what, I know we have to, I guess we're approving our portion of this agreement. Can somebody from non-public speak to that?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. This is Milton Garnes. I'm currently sitting
Hello,
in the seat.
Milton.
Hello. Currently sitting in the seat as coordinator for non-public placements. And the fiscal year generally starts July 1 of the school year. So it goes from July 1 through June 2025.
Okay, fine. I'm just curious why we wouldn't have approved it at that point earlier in the fiscal or that fiscal, why we're approving it now. But okay. Can you, since you're on, Milton, I believe we already had a relationship with Children's Guild. Can you talk to me a little bit about that relationship and what this contract means to that relationship?
Absolutely. We still currently have a relationship with the school. We have students who have LRE placements in a private separate day school currently, and they service students who are intellectually disabled, emotionally disabled, multiple disabilities, and students that have autism as well. And they currently service maybe 30 to 40 of our students currently, who require that placement. However, we do not have a partnership with them where we can temporarily place students who are in a diagnostic status, if you will, who are primarily from elementary through high school. We currently have a partnership now that services students at the Villa Maria School, but those ages usually go through 5 through 15. So we would not be able to provide like a partnership setting for students in high school and students that have more severe disabilities or concerns such as multiple disabilities or students that are autistic.
Okay, so this contract or this particular thing that we're approving is to increase
the
potential-
capacity capacity to service more students with severe disabilities,
right,
who may be in need, and as well give us the ability to work with some of our public schools to step kids down when they actually need a lesser restriction, but maybe supports for a student who may be not stable or require more at the time. And this flexibility also allows us to identify students who truly need a more restrictive placement. So it's that middle ground. We don't have the high school area is deeply affected, even still, by students who require more restrictive placement.
Okay, thank you. And you had mentioned, look, my own baby is yelling in the background, so hopefully you all can't hear him. But temporary setting, you had mentioned that, yeah, to give you a place for students when you're determining what their LRE is. Is that correct?
That's correct. Sometimes students are in crisis, or maybe they're reaching out to their student success liaisons or an educational specialist in the Office of Special Education, and asking for support. And so one of the vehicles that we use to help support those students is the partnership. And this partnership seat is governed and monitored by MSDE. So all of our activities align with what students require in their IEP, and we do it for a temporary basis, and then we figure out what they ultimately need.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Okay, we're still here. I like that.
Yeah.
I thought I lost
Yeah.
all. Oh. I thought it was in another universe here for a second.
Oh, well, you're in teaching and learning committee.
Okay. Good.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I'm back on the planet here. I'm sorry for that.
Well, welcome back.
Hey, look, I had a question for you. As far as, how long are these interventions? I say here short term. And how is the structure of planning for these students to continue moving forward implemented, or who actually sets those guardrails? Thank you.
It's all done through the IEP process, IEP team process. So IEP teams at the school level will meet, and so will the team at the Children's Guild with representation from the Office of Special Education, and we set up the parameters for what the students need, and it's a very individualized thing. And I heard you mention time frame. So those time frames typically look like 60 to 90-day placements. However, we do have the flexibility to offer less time or more based on what students require within the school year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Lallinger, Reading Lallinger.
Yes, thank you. I just had a question. Is there a compliance report that comes to us at some point during the year that gives us some statistics around the numbers of students who are in these sort of temporary, more restrictive placements who are then moved into less restrictive placements? Does that come to us in a compliance report at some point throughout the year?
No, but there's a coordinated set of activities that MSD requires, and one of them is attendance monitoring. And so there's usually a mid-year report, and of course there's an end of the year report that's required, and it'll outline the FTEs, it'll outline the disabilities service, the number of days that students attended, those students who return to public school, and those students who actually remain in a more restrictive setting.
Great. So just so I understand you, it's not a compliance report that comes to this committee, but it is a report required by MSDE
That's
that
correct.
you send on a semi-annual basis. Okay. All
That's
right.
correct.
Thank you.
And it's monitored. It's housed in our office as well, like in the non-public office. It's available. It's just an MSDE document that we keep on file.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wanted to note that I think Dr. Reading Lallinger is asking for a more comprehensive view of your work around non-publics and how the board can have a line of sight into our students in non-public, say it for me, Jesus, non-public placements.
Yes.
Yes. So, Commissioner Lallinger, we can ask for that as an action item. Do I hear is that a request that the committee receives a report?
It is either, that I'm happy to schedule an individual meeting. It doesn't need to be to the full committee unless there are other commissioners who are interested in that, but it's just something I'm interested in understanding the scope of a little bit better. So, I'll leave it to you, Chair, to decide if that is something you want the whole committee to see, or I can follow up individually. But beyond that, I don't have questions or concerns about this contract in particular. I'm trying to get a little bit of a better sense for, the scope of this within the district.
And I would agree with that. I would like that to come to the committee too, also, or to me also, because my question did surround the guardrails and the structure that this exists under. So that this would be helpful in looking at that.
Thank you, Commissioner Bay and Commissioner Lallinger. I am aligned with that. I see Casey Mingo has popped on the screen. In terms of this procurement item, I think that we've satisfied our curiosity in terms of this procurement item, but just acknowledging Jonathan and Dr. Juggins on the call that we would like to pursue this as an action item so that the board has a more comprehensive view of students in non-public settings. Thank you. All righty. We are nearing the end of our time together. But before we do, I would like to move us into the public comment portion of our meeting. We do, I am told, have some individuals who will be participating. Mr. Garnes, can you go ahead and mute yourself again? All righty. So before we open it up to individuals who would like to give public comment, I will go through our protocol. Members of the public who would like to provide public comment to this committee can do so by signing up beginning 9 a.m. the Thursday before the meeting. That would have been Thanksgiving, so hopefully you did it before then. Until 5 p.m. the Monday before the meeting date. Individuals or groups interested in providing comments to the committee may sign up one of three ways. You can contact the board office at 443-642-2095. Visit the board office at the Pendergrass Hughes building on North Avenue, or email the board office at schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us. Up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide comment to the Teaching and Learning Committee. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes. All public comments should address teaching and learning related issues, and sign up is not permitted the day of the meeting. In addition, the chat function during our virtual meetings will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. If you have follow-up questions or feedback and did not sign up in advance to provide them during the committee meeting, please send an email, like I said, to the board office, and the staff will provide a response for you. I believe PCAP reached out and wanted to make a comment. Do I have Dr. Charlene Stewart or Dante Ryan available to give public comment at this time?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Dr. Ryan. I actually yield my time. No comment at this time.
Okay.
This is Dr. Stewart, and same here. I yield my comment.
Okay, so we actually don't have public comment this evening. I want to make sure that's correct. Dr. Juggins.
That is.
All righty.
Sorry, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Well, this is our last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting of the year. Please stay tuned for our next meeting in 2025. We look forward to returning to our focus on student achievement and the board goals around math, literacy, wholeness, and graduation. If I don't see you before then, please enjoy this holiday season. Stay safe, and thank you for your participation today. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
Thank you.